This is a non-sexy topic. What is the one key metric that any solopreneur, any coach, any person that wants to get to that 6 and 7 figure coaching or service provider business, they need to be tracking to actually get there?
It's not as scary as it sounds, but it's called that is the single most place where you set your pricing. Because we all know it's really difficult. I hear this all the time with my clients. How do I pick these prices? Do I pick them out of thin air? Do I pick them by Susie down the street? No, you have to know this one key area. And also to know that, you have to know what I refer to as your base bills.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. My name is Ati Grinspun. I'm a personal branding coach and business strategy, and I help you, coaches and service providers, figure it out what to post, what to do on and off social media so you can consistently get clients and grow your business. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Be You Brand podcast. And today I have a friend of mine. I met her, of course, at an event, and she has built a 7-figure business in the beauty industry, kicked it to the curb, and now she's on her way to build another 7-figure business in the coaching industry. We're going to ask her the one question that I know you want to know. Michelle, what is the one key metric that any solopreneur, any coach, any person that wants to get to that 6 and 7 figure coaching or service provider business, they need to be tracking to actually get there?
Well, the one big thing that I get asked all the time is, it's not as scary as it sounds, but it's called COGS. So cost of goods sold or services sold. The reason why I start there is because that is the single most place where you set your pricing. Because we all know it's really difficult. I hear this all the time with my clients. How do I pick these prices? Do I pick them out of thin air? Do I pick them by Susie down the street? No, you have to know this one key area. And also to know that, you have to know what I refer to as your base bills.
So tell me about that.
Yeah. So your base, quote unquote, base bills is what goes into
your base bills. Okay.
Yeah. So your base bills is like everything it takes to operate as a business and serve your client. A lot of people think, well, my business is built on referrals. Where does that go? That's not what that means. One key area is, how do you serve your clients? Is that Zoom, podcast software? Is that through your Stripe? Is that through DocuSign? All of those little nuts and bolts of how you actually set up your business, how you're serving other people. It's much different from advertising and marketing, but it is all those nuts and bolts, which I call a base bill. And then from there, you are actually categorizing that as your cost of goods. And then from there, it's like one little hop, base bills, one little hop to COGS. So you're categorizing that of that.
COGS meaning cost of goods sold.
Yes.
Because, okay, so a lot of women that I know listen to the podcast, they're coaches or service providers, like knowledge base.
Yeah.
And what I hear a lot, and this is like drives me crazy, they're also not counting their time as part of their cost. What is your take on this? Because I'm sure that you see this a lot too.
Yes. My experience of 19 years was in an industry where you traded time for money. And understanding what that looks like. So what I have done in my first business was teach my employees and my stylists and now my mentees is to get away from putting your time into your COGS.
Ooh, tell me more about that.
Because your time, see, what I find is it's a slippery slope. Time does not include your expertise, your continuing education, all of those non-tangible things, right? It takes you 30 minutes to do this thing that took someone else 3 hours. That's your experience. That's your lived in your experience. That's your continuing education, years of putting in the reps, right? So how do you quantify that? that is not accounted for when people start getting too married to time equals money. So you do want to make sure that you're accounting for, yes, your tangible time. You do want to have an hourly rate in your mind. You need to understand what that is so that you can price for profit and make sure you're hitting your minimums, cost of goods, plus your quote unquote time. But that's a very base area. You want to price for profit, which means you want to go past that. Then you got to make sure that's just a small piece of the pie because you've got expertise and you've got all these non-tangible things that I teach my clients how to put into the equation when it's hard to quantify unless you have actually lived that and understood and then understand how you want to price and then how you want to price for your margins or your profit, depending on your goals.
Are you working mostly with coaches and service providers now?
Yeah, OBM and service providers too.
One of the biggest issues that I see with people is their pricing. If you had to pay somebody to deliver this, you would be making zero. And that is where I was coming from with this question. I have another coach inside my program, but if I have to pay her, I still have to make money. My business still needs to make money, even if I'm not the one providing the service. A lot of people miss this. So what is like one maybe tangible thing that they can start looking at? Is it how much they would pay somebody else? And then if they do it, it costs more because of their expertise. What is your approach to this?
This is exactly what I work with my clients with as well, which is, again, you have to start with your cost of goods. You have to know that first. Then you know what your margins will be, which means what's left over for me as the owner, and then also as the provider, or you're going to be paying another provider. So I teach you to diversify that. I've actually got clients who I've worked out a strategy for them to pay themselves as the direct service provider and also pay themselves separately as the
profit from the profit.
Yes. Well, it's the cash flow of the business. It's how you're pricing your stuff. So a lot of things need to be optimized in order to do that, or you're going to be running in the red or paycheck to paycheck, which means in to out is equal.
Oh, I know that story very well. The first few years of my business, I had no idea there was money coming in all the time. And I was like, why is there never any money? And there is so much money coming in, but I have no money. My next question, because I think it's really interesting for people. This is a non-sexy topic.
Yeah,
right?
It's unsexy, but it gives you some sexy results.
Exactly. And I think like me, I'm going into my 7th year. For the first 3 years of my business, I was growing. I was making more money every year. I got to my first 6 figures and I still didn't know what to track. So I think this is so important. How somebody that is just starting out, how they realize, because sometimes they don't even know what they need.
Right. If you've got sales, you've got money coming in, what I like to identify your revenue trends, where your money is coming from. Like, where is it coming from? Not, okay, it sits in my Stripe or it sits in my bank account. No, but where is it actually coming from? That's an offer, that's a client. So then you can start to see what's the trend there. Then you should have your cost of goods. What does it take to run?
Which everybody can actually do, because even if you're new, so for all of you bitches listening, are you using Zoom? What are you using?
Yes. It's all of those nuts and bolts, I call them, that it doesn't matter the dollar amount. It doesn't matter. If you are making sales, you need to be tracking your expenses. How are you going to serve that client? How are you serving yourself? How are you set up as a business, right? All of that stuff takes money. I do like to have them quantify it for the year. So you have an annual report. I like to chop that down into monthly so that you understand what that looks like and you're not hit with a big bill. All solopreneurs, I teach them that strategy. So they have this base, this anchor, I like to call it, which is the scaffolding of your business. Then you start building off of that so that you're not always looking at this hamster wheel of like, I got to put an offer out. I got to, whoa. And you've got this Stripe balance, but you do not know where it's going and you're actually broke. Because you don't know your bottom, your anchor. You've got your top, you've got your anchor. And so I help you connect the two. I help you optimize it so you're not leaking anything, whether it's time management, energy, an inefficient VA or contract worker or employee,
Well,
whatever.
and I think one of the things too, and this is from me running my business, right? Like
Yep.
now for all these years, we look at these things every 6 months and I'm like, oh, wait a minute. Where did I because it's so easy, right? You buy the course, you buy, like, we are all like clicking on our phones. We don't even know what the fuck we're buying.
Yeah. And that's the creative mind. So I've got a unique blend. I don't have a business degree. I built my business from nothing to 7 figures without being the direct service provider.
I would love for you to share a little bit. What was your first business? Also, you had a really cool story about why you kicked the board and you spent the last 2 years reinventing yourself.
My first business was in the beauty industry. I have 19 years total in that industry. I ran my business for about 7, 8 years, built it from 0 to 7 figures, and I had already stepped away from doing hair. So it was a low toxic organic hair salon, multi locations, 20 plus employees. I was 100% in the operations on the back end. So from day one, I was in bookkeeping, payroll, hiring, interviewing, every single nuts and bolts of the operations.
Which is exactly the opposite, I'm going to say. And I'm like thinking as a photographer because that's my background. I work with a lot of photographers too and creatives. I'm a website designer. Oh, I cannot hire other website designers. People want me. I'm like, no. Because
Yeah.
that happened to me in photography. I got stuck and I was like, no.
Yeah.
But you actually did it the other way. You were like, nope, I don't want to be in the chair.
There was a reason for it. I had organic low toxic salons because I stepped away for severe health issues. I put all of my research into understanding the toxicity and everything. I paid that forward to my team, my industry, my community by providing safer alternatives. I was no longer able to do that because of hair. I had a passion and expertise, 10 years behind the chair before I went 100% as COO, operations, financial management. What I found was it was so much more my zone of genius than ever doing hair. I love doing hair and I will always be formulating color in my head till the day I die. It's still an interest of mine, but my zone of genius is being able to see patterns and behaviors in data and then having it distilled to the creative mind. Because I have a creative mind and I don't have all of the kind of BS, business BS of like certain metrics and titles. I kind of created my own. Took a little bit of general business and things that I knew to be the case. And then I would actually take my P&L to my CPA. I actually was telling him which areas I wanted to see on my P&L because that's what I saw move the needle in my business.
Those that don't know, and I hope you do know, it's profit and loss statement.
Your P&L, your profit and loss, even a solopreneur has the financial statement, something of that nature.
A lot of the women that come to me are in those first 3 years, right? So at 3 years, you probably already realized you needed a profit and loss and you have some sort of bookkeeper. But I actually see a lot of these women that are new. They're like, oh, I can afford either a bookkeeper or I don't know how to do it. And what all these things that they're like, no, like this is your business. If you don't do this, I personally learned this the really, really hard way.
This is what you signed up for. When you decided to be an entrepreneur and set up your business, by default, you need to know your numbers. There is no excuses.
We talked about cost of goods sold, which is the first time also I hear somebody talk about that when it comes to being a service provider, right?
Yeah.
For me, cost of goods sold is the albums or prints that I did when I was a photographer. What are other key metrics that you think they're key to get into that 6 and 7 figures? Because I wonder if they're the same also to the 6-figure or the 7-figure.
Yes, to the 5-figure, to the 3-figure and up. You have to start with a few key areas. Know your base bills. So I want you to be listing those out. Whatever system, I don't care what system you use, just start tracking monthly. Every dollar and cent. If you've got an office at your home, phone, your Wi-Fi, your lights, like a portion of those sorts of things, right? Put all of that down in there. And then you want to know where your revenue is coming from. How do you get paid? What does that look like? So you need to be recording those. What are my sales?
It's funny because this is also how it all works together, right? Because
Yes.
I tell my clients, okay, I want to know, did you get a client from Instagram? Did you get a client from networking? Did you get a client from a referral? I want to know where my clients are coming from because I don't want to be throwing spaghetti at the wall.
You just hit on the third metric, which is your revenue trends, cost of goods, base bills, and then your conversion rates. There's different ways to say it based on your industry and what you're offering. You need to know where they came from. And so that's your conversion rate, because then you'll know where to focus your attention. It's not through osmosis that people are going to be like, oh, I just grabbed this name out of the ether and now I'm going to try and know what that is. So building any business from zero to anything is in the details, is in the follow-ups. And nowadays, like back then, people's attention spans were a little bit longer than they are now, right?
So this is one of the things that I tell my people, like, oh, I don't want to be salesy. I'm like, you're not. People are not even seeing your shit.
Yeah. And also, like, how you have to be visible, right? In my first business, it was brick and mortar. I prefer being the wizard behind the curtain, but that's not what builds a business. So for me, and I was in a couple of recessions. We had COVID, we had closures, we had a lot of different things, right? And I was on every single local newscast in front of a camera, just being visible. Very uncomfortable. I discovered that I had some weird T-Rex hands that I've since but like, it didn't matter.
This is like the magic of blending everybody's zone of genius, right? No matter what is your zone of genius, if you are a solopreneur, especially, you are still going to have to perform other things and you're going to have to get comfortable.
Yep. Your goods and your services and your unique print on the world needs to be shown. And it is a disservice if you don't speak up and help someone.
You are in the Be Brand podcast where we want women to step into their fucking power and be more of who they are.
And that's one of the main reasons why I closed my businesses, sold them and exited them, because I wanted to serve that woman entrepreneur, that direct business owner that was like me, behind the scenes, in the trenches, who didn't really understand numbers, which I now knew, oh, this is a strength of mine. This is a skill. This is easy for me. And I know it's not easy for other people. So I want to help a different audience in a different environment, which is why I went to the online space.
I want to bring you to something you said a few minutes ago. You talked about data and you talked about mindset. And I know from vulnerable here, from personal experience, how much looking at my numbers, not looking at my numbers, sometimes not even looking at my bank account, hiding my head under my desk here. Like the first few years of business, there was so much shame, so much guilt. Can you go a little bit deeper into the data and the feelings and the emotions behind the data?
This is exactly what I have to teach my clients in the very beginning. I'm not going to give them systems and all of these pricing strategies if they've got some mindset blockers. Being able to not have a scarcity mindset and to not put your emotions first and not to put your assumptions and biases in someone else's wallet.
Ooh, go deeper into that, because you say in somebody else's wallet. What do you mean by that?
We assume that this person, it's going to be too much for them. Oh, it's not going to be,
I know. I'm like, you already decided for this person.
That's a money mindset issue, is you cannot know that. And also, if you are actually understanding your data and pricing accordingly, there's a reason you have that price, but you got to know what they are first.
It's also another problem in the coaching industry too. It's like, oh, but she's doing something similar and she's charging X.
No, yeah.
And
it's the same concept.
When I went full time in photography, I had very clear my cost. My cheapest package was like $1,600 or something. And there was a local photographer, which I happen to know her, and she doesn't live in Vegas anymore, but she was also from Argentina, and it was somebody that I was familiar with. And she was in a relationship with somebody that was making a ton of money. She was still bartending, and somebody was in a call with me, and she was like, oh, but so-and-so charges $250. And I'm like, yeah, because so-and-so, this is a hobby for her. And this is my business. So-and-so can do this for $250, and you are more than welcome to go on so-and-so. But if you want to shoot with me, this is my pricing.
Yeah. And I always kind of switch the dialogue on that, which is stop being.
Well, I didn't tell her that. But I use this story with my own clients because what I tell them is, if I wouldn't have known this person, I would have thought, oh, how is she able to charge? Maybe she's having a million photo shoots. I knew she wasn't, right? Yeah. So I knew the backstory. And actually, that was a lesson for me. There is no way in the world that I could be able to charge that because I am running an actual business.
Yeah.
I have a cost. I was running ads at the time. I had a studio. I went to school for photography.
You don't know what that person's base bills are, what their overhead is. Like it's impossible for you to know, even if there's similar services. Like certainly in my first business in an industry, everyone can get a haircut. Everyone does color, right? What's so big about that? But you have to understand your base bills, your cost of goods, and then your pricing for a reason.
As mentors, we have to teach our people. We live in this era where people open an Instagram account and that's, oh, I open a business. I'm like, girl, no.
Yeah.
But do you see that, right? It's a trend. So especially for somebody like me that I work with all these women that are up and coming, right? Like they're newer, they're still very much looking around to see what so-and-so is doing. I'm like, girl, look at your own green pasture. That's it.
And you can actually give yourself some shortcuts and momentum if you just start in some of these key areas and you just put your head down and put your blinders on. And you will actually make that momentum and you will start making profit. You will start making progress so that by that time that 2-3 years comes around, you will pop your head up and you'll be like, yeah, I know exactly.
That was me. Consistent. That was me. One of the things that I tell people is you are spending all this time on social media. We need to be intentional. Every piece of content, every networking event, every follow-up, every single thing needs to be intentional. So now you can do only 2 or 3 things.
Yeah.
And make money right away.
Yeah. It's about going deeper, not wider. And that's literally the opposite of how a creative mind works.
Yes. So
I help them get focused and then they will see the traction a lot sooner.
I'm going to throw a tip out there because I have one particular group networking event that I trace so many of my clients to that. And people ask me why I come back to there every year. It's been 3 years now. I pour into that community. I'm like, because I know where my clients come from.
Yeah.
And I think that people are so inconsistent. What are some things or tools that you help or that you can teach the audience today? Be like, okay, this can change the way you feel about looking at the bank account or whatever it is.
One of the biggest things that I teach and that I taught myself is you have to learn how to trust yourself. So a deep self-trust that you are capable and that you can make these challenging conversations, these challenging things, because you have developed a strong confidence and trust in yourself. A trust that you're going to be okay if shit hits the fan. A trust that you will know and you're smart enough and you're capable enough to figure it out.
To get yourself out of the fucking shit.
Yeah. You're resilient. Women in general sell themselves short.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things that are on our plate, and we are the last to fill our cups, right? I've been there.
Yeah.
So what I teach first is you have to develop a practice and a habit daily to really start pouring into yourself so that you can have self-trust. And this is what I do with my one-on-one clients is I help them. I'm like their safety net. A lot of my clients are like, I know you have my back because I'm there. And I always say, you can borrow my confidence in you until you have the confidence. But
Same.
I'm
Yeah.
going to help you not only with that mindset, not only reframing, oh, this is going to be a hard conversation. Is it?
Women sometimes don't want to have the conversation with their husbands. They don't want to take on debt. For me, it took a long time until I took on debt to actually put into my business. And it was the best thing I ever done.
And where that stems from is self-trust. Because if you invest in yourself and you put this quote unquote debt, if you don't trust yourself, that is a slippery slope because you don't really know what's going to happen or what that looks like. But if you know, I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm not overextending myself because I know the steps to take to do X, Y, and Z because
Yeah. And I know, especially in the coaching industry, right? I know that if I invest in this, I'm going to do the work. And I think that's where a lot of women falter too. They invest in things, they don't follow through. And that's when they lose their trust too.
And that is because they don't really know their next best step. These are all great ideas, all great stuff, but you have to know what your next best step is in the season of your business to know it, to see it, and what to do with it. And if that really is a stumbling block for you, then you have to get help. You have to get help.
Yeah.
Someone like me who understands it, not a fucking VA who is just.
I know. I don't understand how people get a VA to do their bookkeeping. Get a fucking bookkeeper.
That's an
Get a
operation.
fucking class. You know what I mean? I'm like, no.
So because also too, you have to know exactly what you need help with in order to be able to intelligently make that hire. Otherwise, you are just wasting money, right?
Yes.
And then you.
I am guilty of that. You have to try things, like that's part of being a business owner.
Trial and error. But what I help you with is less trial and error and a little bit of a bridge based on experience. Demystifying the numbers because I didn't have a numbers background, so I understand how to communicate with that. And I also understand for the creative mind, there's a lot more than just understanding the data because I do want you to actually make changes and be sustainable.
Well, and we make so many decisions out of passion, right? A lot of the offers that we put out as creatives are based on our passion, right? I was having a conversation we have the book writing mastermind, and I was talking to somebody. I was like, the first year I ran this mastermind at X price, and yeah, that cannot happen. That was great for the first year, but we are on year 3 and we need to be profitable. And this is the price.
I see a lot of people giving advice not based on actual experience.
This is so amazing. I think that like our ladies are going to get so much value out of this. Would you tell us where they can find you? You have all these amazing master classes that you host every month and almost every month. We don't want to put the expectation.
December, monthly right now, but you never know.
Yeah. So where can people find you? And yeah, all the things.
Yes. So
brag, girl, brag.
Yeah. I'm most active on my Instagram. So it's Ops and Growth Mentor. So OPS and Growth Mentor, Michelle Ghassemi. So that's where I put registrations for all my current masterclasses. Right now, I'm doing 5 metrics that build a 7-figure brand. Or another way of looking at it is that could be standing in your way of a 7-figure brand.
Yeah, because they can be the blocking, right? If you're not doing them, you need to do these key metrics.
Yeah, just simple key areas. I taught that inside of a private community, and I got such amazing feedback that this wasn't taught, this was needed. So then I made it a public masterclass that people can register for. So go over to the Instagram, Ops and Growth Mentor. That's where you can register for the current class. And then I also, in my bio, if you're ready to kind of rock and roll and you've got something specific that you want me to have some eyes and ears on, I do have free 30-minute biz assessment calls that you can book right from there. If someone just wants to see like, hey, I've got this thing, or hey, here are my data, whatever it is, I can take a quick call with you, 30 minutes or less, to see what you can focus on and see if it's a good fit for us to work together. And then I do a lot of educational content on my page. So I explain revenue trends. I do what cost of goods is.
My favorite was revenue trends because I teach that and I didn't have a name for it. So now I'm going to be like, my friend Michelle taught me this is actually called revenue trends. And bitches, you need to go and start looking at them.
Yes. Yeah. And I'm in my DMs. Any new follower, I'm DMing them. I'm doing follow-ups there. Like that's where I'm most engaged. And that's where you'll see a little bit of my personality, what other things are coming up. And then if you're interested in working with me, I do have one-on-one containers for 6 months and 12 months. I am also doing some holiday type promos that I haven't released yet, with maybe some call bundles or a 30-day little sprint with me. So I'm playing around with some intro offers for those solopreneurs or those people who are looking to hire their first person and are really needing some guidance.
I love that. This has been so insightful. Thank you so much for your time, for your expertise.
Thank you so much for having me. It's always a pleasure.
Yes.